and make sure that we are recording our webinar. There we go. So if you do have questions, please go ahead and enter them into the Q&A function. We want our students to be comfortable coming in and collaborating with Hiatt. And so we encourage students to come in for drop-ins for brief questions. We encourage them to come in for appointments. Those can be in person, over the phone, or via video. And students can come in to talk to us about lots of different things. We have a great introductory session called Welcome to Hiatt, where you can come in if you have questions and you're not quite sure where to get started. But we really invite students to come and collaborate with us to talk about their interests, their goals, their career expectations, how their majors connect to their career, graduate school options, gap year options, application materials, interview help and strategies, and help them get connected to resources to keep moving. A small plug for our office. So Hiatt is a nationally recognized award-winning center. In 2019, we won the Exemplary Career Center Award from our primary professional association. We also won an award for our service to international students and an award for our Wisdom Wanted program recently. And one of the reasons that we have been able to get this distinction from folks is because of all the different ways that we engage with students. So we work with students from all different levels, from first years that are exploring interests, to sophomores and juniors looking at internships, to seniors looking for job search or graduate resources, as well as for alumni and beyond. Students have access to Hiatt for life, and we really mean it. Regardless of what majors students have or where they want to go, our staff of career counselors is our specialty really is understanding of the career development process. And so we work with every student that comes in, regardless of their major, regardless of what it is that they're looking to take on. So let's talk about search and how we do that. I'd like you to all take just a moment and think about the different jobs you've had since graduation. Take a moment and think about how many different roles, positions, or companies you can count. Give you a little bit of time to give that a try. So most of you probably have a few different jobs and positions that you can think about. The days of graduating from college and having one job that you're going to stick with or one job you're going to retire from are long gone for many people. We know students are going to have multiple jobs throughout their lifetime, and so we really want to prepare them for that eventuality. One of the other shifts have changed is when and how students are getting those jobs. So I have a poll question for you. What percentage of 2018 graduates do you think had confirmed jobs at graduation? So at graduation, what percentage do you think had a confirmed job? Okay, looks like the votes are settling. I'm going to go ahead and share these results with you. So 45%, or sorry, 62% of you said that 45% of students had jobs at graduation. You might be surprised to find out that it was only 17% of students had jobs at graduation. 17%. Now, when we do our survey, we find that 6 months after graduation, that number skyrockets to 59%. Overall, there were only 2% of students that were indicated that they were still looking 6 months out after graduation. It's really important to remember that our timelines as colleges and universities doesn't always match employers' timelines for when they want to do some hiring. And this is because there are two primary types of hiring that your students are going to encounter. There's planned hiring, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is planned. It is primarily, you're going to see this in larger companies that are going to recruit a class of people, 10, 20, 30, 100 interns or new employees in a specific job title. And they know this ahead of time because that's part of their recruitment cycle. But we also see a lot of as needed hiring, which is just what it sounds like. Someone got promoted, somebody got a new job, someone has moved to a new company, and suddenly we need to find someone. And that kind of as needed hiring is not recruiting 6, 7, 8 months before somebody's graduation. Recruiting timelines also vary considerably by industry. So there's a great guideline that we have that shows the different industry sectors and when they're primarily recruiting on campus. A recent survey that we've done of employers says that the time between job posting to position acceptance averages about 75 days. So it's really helpful to have some kind of strategy. Now, depending on what positions you're looking for and the type of full-time role or internship role, there are other factors to consider. Some of the folks that do planned hiring of interns might start as many as 8 months in advance. But that as needed intern hiring could happen a few weeks or just a month or two before the average start date. Overall, the average number of days recently from when a position was posted to when they started doing interviews was 37 days. And the time span from interview to notification of an offer was a little bit less than 23 days. So when we add that all together, it takes a little bit of time throughout the process to go from I've found a job posting to I've actually accepted something. So it's really important to be aware of the time frames as you're thinking about your search. Now, there are a few important components to the search, and we're going to break these down. But there's the self-assessment piece, which is who are you and what's out there. There's the networking component. This is how you discover what is out there for you. The application material is actually not the most important step of the search process. For a lot of people, it's the easiest. It's the one you go to. Do I have a resume? Do I have a cover letter? And while it's helpful, it is not the most important part of the process. And then that search strategy. Not all jobs are created equal. Not everyone is interested in the same things. We're going to have to evaluate and eventually make decisions. So let's jump in and talk about self-assessment and exploration. Obviously, we want students to come in and collaborate with staff in our office, but there are a lot of resources that are available. Two of the resources I mentioned in the previous webinar, which are really helpful, is a resource called What Can I Do with This Major? And it takes you to a website that is literally called, What Can I Do with This Major? Now, even if your student already knows what they want to major in, this is still a fantastic resource for students because it helps them identify different employer areas, types of industries, as well as tools and resources to help them get started in that area. And while it's not Brandeis specific, it does have just about every major you could think of. So it's a really good exploration resource that you can access for free on our website for your own information, as well as direct your students to. If you're wondering where have other Brandeis students in a particular major gone, there's a tool and resource just for that. It's called Beyond Brandeis, and you can access it directly from this email link at the bottom of your screen there, or by going to the Hiatt Career Center website and clicking on Exploring Majors and Careers. Here you can see destination data since 2014 that you can actually drill down and see where have students specifically gone. You can see the pathway from major to industry, as well as from industry to major. So you can see job titles, you can see employers, you can see where across the country they have gone, what kind of graduate schools they have gone to. It's a really great tool and resource for helping to generate ideas and brainstorms about where to go. There's another resource we didn't mention on the last webinar, which is incredibly helpful, which is called Vault. Students have free access to Vault, which they access through Handshake. Vault is an internship database, it is a job board, it is a company profile resource, and it has these really great Vault guides. There are over 100 award-winning titles on career guidance, as well as in-depth information on different industries. So they're great resources, you can read them online, and it has fantastic information about how to get involved in a particular industry, strategies, places to look. It's really a great resource for students when they are still trying to figure out where do they want to get started. Let's move into the networking portion. And to kick us off with that, I have a poll question for you. Of the 2018 graduates with jobs at graduation, what percentage found networking helpful in finding them their jobs? Everybody should be seeing that poll. It's poll number 3. It's of the 2018 graduates with jobs at graduation, what percentage found networking helpful in finding them their jobs? There we go. All right, looks like the votes have settled. So let's go ahead and share those results. You are all spot on. Thank you for your attentiveness. 94% of Brandeis students said they found networking with alumni, with faculty on LinkedIn, or with friends and family was a crucial part of their job search process. And that mirrors what we find overall. Networking is one of the single most important tools that students have at their disposal. And when we think about how much time do we want to spend in the internship or job search process, here's a rough guideline for you. About half of your time really should be spent in the networking component. While it is the most time-consuming, it has the largest payoff for students. As we break down the other times, we should be spending a fair amount of time researching employers. We should be spending some amount of time locating jobs online, as well as applying for jobs. But the bulk of that time really should be spent in the networking arena. And so we have a ton of resources to help students network. One of the strongest resources to help students get connected to the Brandeis Alumni Network is using LinkedIn. If you haven't been on LinkedIn recently or you haven't encouraged your student to, take a look at it. There are a couple of great resources we have on our website on how to use LinkedIn. We have a great resource and webinar that has been archived that you have access to called Building Your Brandeis Alumni Network. There are over 40,000 Brandeis alumni that are on LinkedIn, and each one of them updates their own profile. So we know that people are more likely to update their LinkedIn profile than, say, contact their undergraduate university every time they change a job or change a position. So really encourage folks to take a look at LinkedIn. We have a lot of resources and smaller groups of people based on shared interests, based on industry, based on geographic location, both on Facebook as well as areas on LinkedIn that you can get in touch with. So take a look at LinkedIn as a way to begin to find some of those alumni. We also have activities and resources that happen in person. So we have networking events, we have career fairs and events. The primary purpose of most of these is not to walk away with a job in hand or even an interview offer. It really is about building that relationship or connection with the recruiter. So we bring organizations to campus, we bring educational sessions, we have networking events, we have site visits in Boston and all across the country. And the goal of this is to help facilitate those networking connections. When we move into talking about application materials, it's really important to remember what the purpose of the application materials are. Application materials are really marketing documents, and they present who you are as a candidate in a clear, concise, compelling way that's customized for the position you're applying to. And so we have a lot of resources to help our students put together their application materials. On our website, you'll find a whole section on resumes. We've broken down the resume into a document we call the anatomy of a resume, where we talk about the overview of the format, how we should put them together. We have resources for how do you describe your experiences, breaking those pieces down. We have lists of action verbs that you use to begin those sentences. Those are those good, strong, active verbs. And we offer resume reviews for students Monday through Friday from 11 to 4, no appointment needed. They can just come stop in and have somebody take a look at their resume. But putting together the basic resume is just the first part of the puzzle. The next step for students and what makes them stand out is putting together what we call a tailored resume. And so this is where you start to look at the job description or internship description for what you're applying for and tailor or customize your resume for that particular position. This is what makes resumes, cover letters stand out from the bunch. Now, if you're applying for positions, you can just submit your resume online. That is certainly a strategy, and some people are very successful at doing that. We find for our undergraduate students, those students that have a specific skill, programming language, laboratory experience that they can point to on their resume, those are the types of resumes that are most successful going through just an applicant tracking system. But that networking portion that we mentioned really is going to be crucial for the majority of our students. So we've gone through the basic elements. Let's talk about search strategy. It can be very helpful as you're beginning a search of any kind to begin to identify a few key things that are going to be important for you. That could be focusing on job titles that you're interested in. That could be focusing on companies that you're interested in. You could be looking more broadly at industries or starting with locations. There are two types of approaches that I describe to students. The first search approach is called the shotgun approach. Now think about a shotgun at very long range. It's not very effective as a tool. You're having small pellets that are distributed and dispersed very widely with very little impact. So submitting your resume to 100, 150 places is not very effective. What I instead encourage students to do is have a more laser-like approach and focus on a few specific areas, companies, industries, or locations that they're really interested in first. Those are the ones that we can then have a bit more depth of impact with by networking, by researching, and by tailoring application materials. As we're starting the search, I like to think about it as a large funnel. We're going to start with general search sites, so big overview sites that are all-encompassing. We're going to move down to industry-focused sites, and then we're going to look at specific focused resources. One of the best general resources for searching that students can start with is called Handshake. Handshake is our internship and job search database that everyone on campus has access to. And what makes Handshake particularly interesting is that it is full of employers that have said, I want to come recruit Brandeis students. So students have a little bit of a leg up because these are employers that want to come talk to them. Last year alone, we had over 40,000 job and internship opportunities posted on this resource, not just in Boston or the Northeast, but all across the United States, as well as internationally. So it really is the first place to get started. But there are a couple of other good general search resources. Indeed is a great resource because it's an aggregate site. It pulls from lots of different job boards, so it's a great place to get started. Internships.com, I know it sounds like a silly name, but it's actually a really good and very effective resource for searching for internships. If you are interested in things in the public service or nonprofit area, idealist.org or serviceyear.org are great resources. And if you're interested in anything in the government, federal government, then USA Jobs is your go-to resource. Brandeis students also have full free access to Glassdoor, which has great listings available through our website. And more, the LinkedIn job search function is becoming helpful. Now, what we find is for most entry-level students, LinkedIn is not necessarily the best resource to go to for job or internship listings, but using these general resources gives somebody a good sense of what types of positions are currently available. And then we can go for more specific resources. Narrowing down a little bit more, we have industry-focused search resources. So Vault, that I mentioned, is a great place to go for those industry-focused resources. They have a page for tips for entry, which is really helpful. The other industry-focused resource, which is great, are sharing with students the professional organizations. So as an example, the American Marketing Association is a professional group of marketers. They have their own industry listing and job board. So if I'm specifically looking for somebody who's going to be hiring somebody in marketing, I might post to that resource first. There are also other great resources. One of my favorites on our website is the Leadership Development and Rotational Program. So if you're applying for positions and you're not quite sure what role you're interested in, there's some great rotational programs that you can go to that allow you to try out different roles within an organization. If we keep narrowing down a little bit more, there are specific search resources. These are things we're looking for that are really focused on a particular role, a particular job, particular industry. So here are just a couple of different examples. Teamwork Online is the #1 place to go if you're interested in a sports or recreation job. Media Bistro is a fantastic resource if you're interested in anything in the media world. And Dice Jobs are great resources, is a great resource platform for any kind of technology position. The resources I mentioned earlier, things like Vault, what can I do with this major, those are great resources to help you identify some of these specific websites. And I'll talk about another one in a second called Spotlight on Careers, which students have access to through our resource Handshake, that has even more listings of specific job search sites in different industries. The other specific resource, which is really helpful, are going to individual company career pages. Some people don't know that almost every employer out there who has a website is going to have a careers or an about us or a job posting section. And that's usually the first place to go if you've been able to identify specific companies of interest. Some of the resources that students have access to through Handshake. So I mentioned Spotlight on Careers. This is a really great resource. It was developed specifically for students from liberal arts universities. So it presents an overview of different industries. It has links to online job boards, internship sites. It has resume reviews and internship tips. It also has stories of current students or recent alumni from liberal arts schools that have made the transition into specific industries. Going Global is a fantastic resource that students have access to. So if you're interested in looking for positions that might be outside the United States, might be in a third country, then Going Global really is a great resource to take advantage of. It has internship links, job links. It has information on how to create resumes or cover letters in particular industries. And then Vault students can access, as I mentioned, right through Handshake. Now, for some students, one of the big questions that they have is, how am I going to pay for an internship? The Hiatt Career Center website has a number of great programs for helping students figure out how are they going to fund different programs. One of them is called the World of Work, or the WOW program. This is an incredible resource for students. If you're looking at an unpaid internship, the Hiatt Career Center distributes almost $200,000 a year in funding for students for unpaid summer internships. Some of them fall into different categories. There are a number of opportunities for social justice related programs, so it's a great resource to take a look at. We also have resources for transportation expenses. So if you're doing an internship or working part-time during the school year, and your internship might be in Boston or somewhere out in the Boston suburbs and you're trying to get to it, we have resources to help you make that happen. So it's a really great place to go to find out about internship funding. Well, these are good overview resources for students, so the search resources, things they can do on their own. We really encourage students to come in and talk to somebody to create an individualized strategy, because exactly what everyone's looking for is going to be a little bit different. So this is where you can come in and meet with one of the professionals in our office to start to create a customized strategy and help you get connected and directed to those resources. So as I mentioned, students can make an appointment in person, over the phone, or via video. So regardless of where they are, if you're studying abroad somewhere, if you're out of the country for a period of time, you can always schedule an appointment through phone or via video with us. When we work with students, we also want to make sure they're not getting stuck in the process, which is very easy to do. One of the ways we find students get stuck is they have a very narrowly focused goal. And sometimes when you have too narrowly of a focused goal, you fail to see the other cool opportunities and possibilities that are happening around you. Now, Brandeis students are incredibly smart and they're very ambitious. So sometimes one of the ways we see them getting stuck in the job search is they might be limiting the types of employers they're interested in. I'm only interested in the top 5 companies in this industry. I'm only interested in this one job title. And it's a balance of wanting to encourage students to go after that which they're very, very interested in, as well as starting to think about what are the other types of positions or possibilities we could be looking at. So sometimes we want to help them expand their search a little bit more. We also see students sometimes that sound like they're on a seesaw. They're tottering back and forth between two things. And particularly when they're very different ideas, we start to get a sense that maybe that student is stuck and hasn't thought about the full range of what's possible. So in an internship or job search cycle, this could be focusing only on 2 very different positions. I'm looking for an internship in consulting, or I'm looking for, I'm just going to go back home and work at a gas station. Very different ideas. So we want to make sure they're not just getting stuck in that process. The third way that we see students get stuck, and this is most common in the job search cycle and process, is they're doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same negative result. So perhaps you're going online and you're applying for positions over and over again and you're not making any progress. Well, if you start to do this too often, we need to start to evaluate what are the materials you're sending, what are the positions that you're looking for, what is the strategy or approach that you're going for, because one of those things might need to shift a little bit. So we want to work to get our students unstuck as best as we can. And that can really happen best through a one-on-one conversation with somebody in our office. So the key takeaways in the job search process that we find most helpful for working with students. One is to start to review the different timelines. The next is to start to think about what is your network and how can we help you expand that network. We want to help you focus on a search. And ultimately, you might want to meet with somebody within the office to develop your individual search strategy. So for those of you that have stuck with us, I've got another poll question for you. What is probably the single most important part of the internship or job search? And while you're voting, at this time, if you have questions, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to submit questions, and we'll go ahead and start answering some of them. So if you have questions about the job search, questions about the internship search, how you could work with or help your student, now's a good time to start entering them. All right, we've got some questions coming in. Keep them coming. We're going to end this poll and share the results with you all. 68% of you said networking was the single most important part of your job search. Absolutely. All the other pieces are really helpful. It's helpful to know what it is that you're looking for. I can tell you from experience, it's very difficult to go to Google and say, I'm looking for an internship. What should I do with my life? But the networking piece really is the most important part of that job search. There are a number of different resources for helping you stay involved in the process. As we start to talk about those, I want to start to answer some of the different questions that folks have first. So someone has asked, are you able to set up regular weekly meetings with someone to stay on track in their search? Absolutely. That's one of the great things that we can do. There's no limitation on the number of meetings that a student can have with us. So some students do need to check in a little bit more regularly, and they might have a meeting every week, every other week, when they're really in the thick of their particular job search, so that we can help keep them on track. We absolutely love to do that. All of our counselors are generalists. However, their specialty really is the career development process. And so we work with students regardless of what discipline or area it is that they're working in to help them create a customized strategy for what they're doing. So for somebody who's looking for recommendations or is on the pre-med track, or wants to get plugged into internships or shadowing or volunteer opportunities, there are two offices they can work with. They can work with the pre-health office, which is in academic services. They can also work with our office, and we will work with them just like we do with any other student who is helping them to figure out what are the different types of roles that they could be looking at, different types of positions. Lots of people that are in that pre-med track, they're looking for shadowing opportunities, or they're looking to get involved in hospitals. Many hospitals have a volunteer section, information shadowing section, right on their website, because they know that so many students are interested in doing that. And in fact, there's often more demand for volunteering in hospitals or healthcare settings than there are opportunities. So this is, again, where that networking piece comes in really handy. So it's good to look at both of those. Some of the other questions that have come in, can students get academic credit for an unpaid summer internship? They can. There are a lot of different options for internship credit. Some departments have internship credit options within their department. And so the place to go for that information is the department's major website. There is an internship course, which is taught through our office. I actually teach that course. It's INT 89, Internship 89, and that's for students who have either already completed or don't have an internship option within their major. It's a 2-credit course for students that they're able to take advantage of. And you can find that information on courses or getting credit for your coursework by checking out our website and taking a look at the internship and job search section. For folks that do have an internship requirement as part of their major, there are internship options and resources on that department website. And there is often an assigned faculty member or administrator within that department who is the go-to person for more information. A couple of the other questions that have come in. What's the best way to encourage my student to come into Hiatt and to work with somebody? That's a great question. And it's something that we work with all the time. You know, sometimes students need to hear about this resource from multiple people. And so you can nudge your student, you can let them know about upcoming events, opportunities, you can let them know that there's a whole office of people that are here to work with them. Sometimes students are intimidated because they think they need to know what they want to do before they come into the office, and that's not always the case. So you can encourage them to make an appointment called Welcome to Hiatt, which really is an appointment designed for somebody who's not quite sure where to get started. If you're really struggling with how to work with your student to come into the office, send me an email, give me a phone call. I'm happy to chat with you. I won't reach out directly to your student unless it's an extreme case, but it's something we can work together on. So I'd be happy to chat with you. For students that are looking for resources or housing assistance during the summer, there are a couple of different opportunities, and we'd be happy to work with those students for help with housing. Oftentimes, universities will open up their residence halls for undergraduate students, even if they're not from that university. So that is one great option depending on where you're going. For instance, you know, students that are staying in the Boston area could look for an apartment in Boston during the summer, but they could also actually pay to stay at Brandeis during the summer, which is a great resource. Coming in, a couple of the other questions folks have asked, is this webinar available to students? It is. This particular webinar is really geared towards parents and families, but you can share this webinar and resource with your students. We also have a lot of online and in-person workshops and programs designed for students that they can come take advantage of. One of the ones that will be coming out, and you'll be seeing some information on it in the next couple of weeks, the last week of January is called Career Week. And Career Week is a focused week of resources, activities for students to kind of help them jumpstart or accelerate their internship or job search. And so that's just one of the opportunities that students have to meet with people in our office to talk about these resources one-on-one and face-to-face. A great question about when is a better time for first years to come in for an intro meeting. Anytime throughout the year. Like a lot of places, you know, we go through cycles where it's very busy and where things slow down a little bit. Right now, as we're getting ready for the Thanksgiving break in the next couple of weeks, it's very busy in our office. But generally, the wait time for an appointment is only a week or a week and a half out if it gets very busy. But they can always come in for a drop-in appointment, even if they're a first-time student, to meet with one of our Hiatt advisors. And that's a great way to get into the office because the Hiatt advisors are peer advisors. They work with undergraduate students and they know this from firsthand experience. So they're great folks to work with. A couple of the other questions that have come in. Question about what is a good internship for someone interested in going to law school? That's a great resource. Great question. The first resource that I would suggest taking a look at is the law school guide that's available on our website, as well as encouraging your student to meet with our pre-law advisor is a great resource. There's a lot of really cool opportunities. We have law firms that come to recruit folks. We have paralegal type positions. There are great positions within nonprofits working on legal issues or legal aid issues. There are great positions within the court systems. There are a lot of cool resources that are available. Someone asked, do we have staff working with business major students versus pre-meds or other majors separately? We don't. Our office are full of generalists, so we work with all majors and all students, and it can help all of them devote resources. We have an industry expert, which is someone who has previous experience working in a particular industry. And this fall, we have somebody who has spent time working in business. So he's our industry expert for business. And in the spring, we're going to have an industry expert for healthcare, biotechnology, and science research. So we try to bring in different people with different specialties. These are really great questions. I'm going to move on to the resources section. And if you have other questions, please keep entering them. We want to encourage you to stay involved. So there are great ways to see what's going on in our office, find out what activities are happening so that you can direct your students to things. Our Facebook page is great. There's a lot of wonderful resources on there. If you're interested, there's a wonderful program called Hiatt Live, which gets recorded every Wednesday, and you can see the archived versions of that. It's a fun, interactive session where you can learn about careers, you can learn about our office and meet our staff. You can, of course, find us online on Twitter. You can find us online on Instagram. You can join the Brandeis University Career Connections page. You don't have to be an alum to join that page. You could be a friend of the university. It's a great resource if you want to make yourself available as a parent to help out students in helping them build or expand their network. This webinar, as well as other webinars, are archived by topic on our YouTube page. There are resources for career transition, personal branding and networking, job search strategy, diversity and inclusion issues, startup and entrepreneurship, as well as industry-specific webinars. So take a look at our YouTube page on that topic. They're really good ones. We have some great resources for hiring Brandeis talent. So hopefully you know and recognize the talent of Brandeis students better than anyone. You've chosen to send your student here. So would you be open or interested in sharing jobs or opportunities at your organization with Brandeis? There's an online recruiting form that you can access on the parent page. You can also email us at recruiting@brandeis.edu and we can get you directed to the right place. If you're interested in volunteering with Hiatt, take a look at the alumni.brandeis.edu/careers/volunteer page. There's a whole menu of career-related volunteer opportunities for different interests, skill sets, as well as different schedules. So I really encourage you to take a look at those. We've got two other questions that have come in, and then if there aren't any others, we'll wrap up in a moment. Question was, what percentage of students have summer internships in their field as freshmen, sophomores, or juniors? That's a really good question. There's no clearinghouse of internship information at Brandeis because students can have internships without having to check in with anyone. There are internships for credit and internships that are not for credit. So it's difficult to say. What I will say is that every internship, regardless of what it is incredibly valuable for a student. There's always something you can take from that internship that is transferable to the industry or area that you're interested in. Even if it might not seem like that at first, an administrative assistant job, working in a coffee shop might not seem like the ideal internship related to your field as a freshman, but in those two examples, the communication skills, the multitasking skills, perhaps even the leadership skills you're going to be gaining from that position are all skills that an employer is going to be interested in. So there really is no way to fail at an internship. They're all going to be great experiences that are transferable for our students. Last question that came in, how do you access the person who specializes in the biotechnology and science? Once that person starts in the spring, students will be able to schedule an appointment with them right through Handshake. So it's a fantastic resource for folks. That looks like about all the questions that we had come in today. I want to thank you all very much for giving up perhaps your lunch hour to join us and talk about internship and job search. We are very thrilled to be able to work with your students. I hope to see some of them in our office. This webinar will be available, and we'll email all the folks who have registered for it early next week. In the meantime, if you have other questions, I encourage you to visit our website, or you can always send us an email at hiattcenter@brandeis.edu. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.